Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, depending on where you're calling in from. For those of you who aren't familiar with the strange voice coming through the phone, my name is Patrick Kelly, and I'm a program analyst with the Food Nutrition Service at the USDA. I work with Jackie, and as she mentioned during the housekeeping items, we are currently going through our transition from one team to another in terms of the Farmers Market program here at FNS. We're very excited to be doing this first webinar for all of you today. We've got new technology, we've got a new transition team, so hopefully things will go fairly smoothly as we kind of continue working through this process. I just wanted to make a few comments here at the beginning regarding partnerships to sort of lay the groundwork before I turn it over to our guest speakers. We talked a little bit here internally with the group that had sort of passed on the Farmers Market program to us, and they gave us some great ideas on different partnership ideas that people have already talked about on some of these calls. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But just in general, we wanted to give some context to what we're going to be talking about here on the phone today so that we're all sort of on the same page. I think these things are items that all of you are probably very familiar with if you haven't actually thought about it before in this context. But just so that we're all sort of coming from the same space, when we're looking at partnerships, of course, we're talking about a person, or in our cases, maybe an entity of some sort that takes part in a program or an undertaking that others are involved in, so that from a business or company perspective, there are shared risks and rewards to the relationship, but everybody is sort of coming into one space together to work on a particular goal or a particular set of criteria that they're trying to accomplish. So in terms of what makes a good partnership, we just want to sort of remind everybody what elements or traits are out there that we want to make sure people are looking at when they start to form a partnership or a relationship with another organization or another entity. Good partnerships just in general are supportive in terms of everyone that comes into the partnership has a sense of support and optimism about the success of the collaboration that you're working towards. Partnerships are rewarding for everybody involved. Each member of the partnership sees the reward involved in coming together. And in terms of a successful relationship, those rewards are based on each other's worth and significance to the bigger picture in trying to achieve that goal. Good partnerships are collaborative in nature. There's a certain level of trust that you come into a partnership with, and you build on that trust in order to succeed in whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. All partners need to know that the relationship is both collaborative, solid, and loyal in the sense that you're able to trust one another and you're going to be honest with one another in your dealings between the partners involved. And along those lines, partnerships are open. Good partnerships are open. A successful partnership requires both a supportive atmosphere, but also one where you feel like you can share information with your partner in a way that could be kind of constructively critical of how things are going in the partnership. You can build on that together and trust one another and be open with one another on what that relationship is actually like and how you can make it more successful. And then they're based in service to each other. One thing that really, I think, makes up a good partnership is the fact that everybody who comes to the table for a partnership has something to offer. You're not just looking to get something out of this relationship with the other organization, but you feel like you have something to offer in return to making the partnership successful. And so everybody who comes to the partnership, comes to the table, is coming ready to help everybody be successful and not just your own organization. And when we were talking with the group who was managing the Farmers Market program prior to our team, they shared with us a list of ideas and suggestions that they've already come across in their work, and we just kind of wanted to reiterate those on the call today before we started into the presentations. Some of the examples that Mary and Eden and their group had come across in their work is partnerships between local or state farmers market associations, which several of you on the call today represent, and the local SNAP state agencies or local government organizations. They were also very clear and very, they wanted us to make sure that we mentioned that universities and colleges in your local area are strong partners to approach when you're looking to work with different organizations in the community. And groups like organizations like senior centers and food pantries and homeless service centers in the area, when you're specifically looking at SNAP clients and SNAP populations in your area, those are some of the organizations that a lot of the partners that they had worked with in the past talk about in terms of successfully reaching out to different organizations in the community and getting them on board when they're talking about getting more people to come to the farmers market to have access to fresh fruits and vegetables and other local produce. So with that, as a groundwork, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our presenters to begin their presentations here today. And I want to thank all of them for joining us on this first webinar. I'm going to turn it over, I believe, first to both Michelle Rogers and Christine Sassy. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, with the Department of Health. And I'll let you guys go at it.
Okay, hello, I'm Michelle Rogers. I'm in the Arkansas Department of Human Services. And the picture that you're seeing right now on slide 1 is a picture of a very small farmer's market, downtown Little Rock. The name is Bernice Garden Farmer's Market. You can check out their Facebook page. It's very small, but a wide variety of items. It's my favorite market. And I'm going to the next slide. Okay, Arkansas was first recognized by USDA in June 2015. There was a report that came out that reported an 800% increase in the markets and farm stands that accept SNAP. From 2008 to 2014, we went from 5 to 45. Then in June 2016, Arkansas increased that number from 45 to 75, which was the highest in the Southwest region. And I'm going to the next slide. And there's just a visual. Now we have over 80, and I've got like 7 or 8 pending applications for farmers markets. One of the reasons I think is a huge factor in growing that number is you need to have a SNAP outreach position. This allows, this will allow to actually having a designated person to perform what needs to be done is a huge factor. That person, it allows the time and effort to foster the essential partnerships and relationships that is needed to succeed. The position needs to be broadly defined, and this person needs to have, be available and free to develop strong connections on the national level, state level, local level for sure. Grassroots, out there talking to the growers as well as retailers. And I'm going to go to the next slide. Some of the essential partnerships, we started, as someone mentioned earlier, with the University of Arkansas Cooperative Extension Service, because they're our implementing agency for nutrition ed. So I started there, and we used the extension agents in our 75 counties to help us get the word out about sign-up days that USDA helped us with. We had 3 of those. Let's see. And then I also contacted the marketing director at the time at the Arkansas Department of Ag. And he also, through our Arkansas Grown and network, he helped get the word out too about sign-up days. So the first sign-up day, I mean, it was a huge success according to SNS. I was kind of disappointed, but we had 20 or 21 markets come that day to sign up, and then the next one we had, I think 13 came, and then the third and final one, I decided to do like a road trip where we went into more rural areas of Arkansas, and I invited one of our a third-party provider to travel with us. So not only did we have SNS there to find permits that day, but we also had an equipment provider on site as well that, you know, people could talk to them and just kind of get an idea about the equipment that's available. I mean, you know, and they knew that, you know, they didn't have to sign up with that third-party provider, but it was nice having the equipment person right there for market managers to talk to. Another essential partnership, I think, that's important is get to know your food bank marketing managers, especially, and any hunger relief agencies in your state, because they're going to have the same goals as you. You know, and that's to increase access to healthier food for our SNAP clients. So big partnerships that, you know, have your same goal. Also, in Arkansas, we have a stateside farmers market association who is a lot like the Farmers Market Coalition. And they're located at the Cooperative Extension Office, and so we have a great working relationship there as well. And also, what started a lot of this is in the beginning, someone contacted me from the Arkansas Department of Health because she was working on a farmers market toolkit. Anyway, this relationship just led to, I think we were just all over the place going crazy. But anyway, just find a partner that has your same goal and just see where it leads. I'm going to go to the next slide. Those are just logos of some of the partners that we have. I mean, just some of them. Like I said, the Cooperative Extension, SNAP Ed, Merchant Stores Fair Food Network, Hunger Relief Alliance. Also, build your own database. Like, every time I made a contact with someone, I would write that down, and so I have like it's really just an Excel spreadsheet with all the farmers markets on it in the state that are registered through the Department of Ag. That's what I started with. And then if they take SNAP or if they take Double Up Food Bucks, you know, I indicate that as well. And, you know, market managers change all the time. So I try to keep it up to date as well as I can. And, you know, that information comes from a variety of people that, so I try to keep that updated. And I'm going to go to the next slide. And I'm going to turn this over to Christine Sassy.
Yes, hello. This is Christine Sassy. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, I'm happy to be here presenting with Michelle. I am a dietitian and consultant at our state health department working in our chronic disease prevention and control branch. And I titled this slide Serendipity because it turns out that Michelle and I, when we met, we were both fairly new on our jobs, and we were both trying to eke out how to go about doing these jobs we had been assigned where neither of us had a real predecessor to lead and guide us. And we were both actively trying to contact every potential partner and learn from the ground up how to do this and how to make this happen. I'm sorry, I've been told me to speak up a bit, so I will do that. Basically, Michelle and I had many commonalities in where we were coming from and what we were aiming to do. So basically, just to give you some of the nuts and bolts of the background, I was new in my job. I began within 4 months of the end of the year end of a grant. We work under the 1305 grant, if you are familiar at all with that. I was charged with developing a farmer's market toolkit for Arkansas. And I knew very little about farmers markets other than what I learned from my experience working with WIC and their farmers market program. Being a dietitian does not mean you know farmers markets. So I called a dietitian that I've known for years at the State Cooperative Extension Office and just threw out my plea of, I need to learn and I need to learn quick. And she suggested some great resources and contacted me with several people, including our Department of Agriculture, but the name that she kept bringing up was, you've got to connect with Michelle Rogers. You've got to connect with Michelle Rogers at DHS SNAP Outreach. And, well, that showed me how much I didn't know, because I didn't know DH had SNAP Outreach. And in hindsight, I could not have properly completed that farmer's market toolkit or any of my projects after that had I not been connecting and working with Michelle. In addition, I found out that finding collaborators was a lot like working a puzzle. You had to have one piece to make that next fit correctly. Michelle pointed me on to other resources like our Hunger Alliance, that's a nonprofit in our state, Market Maker. She gave me context for why I needed to be contacting the Department of Agriculture. She had information that I could not have had about how SNAP EBT was working in the state. She had the wonderful, I call it Michelle's list of everything, of all the farmers and the markets that are in. Collected a wonderful database that I have used over and over and over. So basically, we quickly discovered that we needed each other. So I'm going to go to the next slide. This one says outreach through partnership. So there were several things that we started working on together that were mutually beneficial. Michelle immediately invited me to sign-up events and presentations that she was, where she was recruiting farmers for SNAP. And that helped me because that was my connection to farmers. And that let me expose farmers to the toolkit I wanted to develop and to get their input on what they need in a toolkit. So I learned valuable information from her. So here's the point I really want to emphasize. Michelle and I, our goals perfectly dovetailed. But the driving factor behind our goals was different. Michelle's primary goal was to increase SNAP and alleviate hunger, stimulate economic vitality. My primary goal as a dietitian was to increase SNAP at farmers markets to reduce chronic disease and eventually obesity prevention. But those are coming from two different viewpoints. They perfectly meet the same goal.
Yeah.
This wasn't a problem. It was actually a benefit because we were able to go out to communities of farmers and marketers, and we could speak different languages. If we had someone that was, their language was, I'm interested in increasing fruits and vegetables, then I can talk to them. If they're just interested in economic development, Michelle's got the information. So this question of why to take SNAP, why should I go through this process of getting SNAP, we doubled our ability to answer that question based on that person's interest. And moving to the next slide. So this also says outreach through partnership. As mentioned, that state farmers market toolkit was developed and could not have been done without Michelle. And this led to much more. The grant that I work under also encourages farmer markets to accept other federal assistance programs. So Michelle was able to point me to the best markets to pilot a doubling program in. And after that, we were able to look at, could we work together to apply for a Walmart state giving grant? We did, and we got it. And from there, we initiated we contacted Michigan's Fair Food Network, and we initiated the process to go double up food bucks official program for the state. So, what started out as I need to make a toolkit and I need information led to that. So, let's see. With that, I'm about to transition over to Michelle, but I want to say a couple of things about this next slide that says lessons learned. I cannot emphasize the importance enough of that SNAP outreach coordinator being in place. Someone like Michelle who can talk to your stakeholders, or talk to your guy on the farm, or they have that versatility of reaching out to different groups without being intimidating or coming across with an air of, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. She's very approachable. So that having that person and having the right person is very important. And I also want to emphasize that once you get this person, I highly encourage you to reach out to your state entity that employs a person that is working with access to healthy food. All states do not have the grant that this, what's called the 1305 Enhanced Grant that we have, but there should be someone that you can find if you call your health department or if you contact something called the Association for State Public Health Nutritionists. They may be able to point you to a person in your state that is working with access to healthy foods, farmers markets, and SNAP for the sake of obesity prevention and health. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and these other things I think have pretty much been discussed, but I'm going to hand this back over to Michelle for other comments that she would like to make.
Okay. Yeah, and be careful. Hindsight's always 20/20, but be careful about who you choose as a partner. Make sure that they have, like I said before, your goals in mind and not some personal nonprofit agenda in mind. And I'm going to go to the next slide. Okay, so all of these relationships and partnerships have led us to tomorrow. I'm going to Fort Smith, where we are piloting a double-up food buck in the grocery store, a double-up food buck program in Hart's grocery store. Hart's is it's a small local grocer, and they do buy local produce. They're in 3 states, but mostly in Arkansas. There's like 80 some odd stores. And the pilot will run for 30 days. And they worked out all the system changes, where the cashier doesn't even have to think about it because there's the system has been enhanced to recognize the item as a double-up food buck item, and it just rings it up at half price. And there are some of the flyers that actually the food bank marketing director came up with, and Fair Food Network. But I'm excited. It's a 2-day pilot kickoff, so it's tomorrow and the next day. And then if we get the larger Finney, they are prepared to run a statewide double-up food buck program in all the Harts, or in many of the Harts in Arkansas. So we're really excited about that, and I guess we won't find out until early April on that. But anyway, so does anyone have questions?
Please feel free to unmute yourselves and ask these lovely ladies any questions, or feel free to put it in the chat box, and we'll go through it that way. Also, just to start out, Christine and Michelle, there was a question already about a state farmers market toolkit and what that is, and where, if it's public, if it's something that people can find, or if that's something just for your state.
Yes, we developed specifically for our state, utilizing information that was already out there, but tailored it to specific issues in our state. It is available, but it is woefully, even though it was created only 2 years ago, it is woefully out of date.
But if you go to the Arkansas, if you go to the Arkansas Coalition for Obesity Prevention website, it is available there.
I have a question.
Okay.
This is Mark Byron. I work at FNS in the WIC program. I understand you to say that you have approximately 80 markets, and you have 75 counties. Is that correct?
Yes, we have 75 counties in Arkansas, and we have 80 farmers markets, farm stands that currently accept SNAP.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, I have a question for Michelle.
Okay.
Hi, Michelle. This is Aurora from Las Vegas, and I'm calling I'm asking a question about the SNAP outreach position. So do you actually have that? Is that your job?
Yes, I do. It's a program manager, I think. That's the title. But I also do all the state plans, like for Nutrition Ed, SNAP ENT, D-SNAP, and then SNAP Outreach.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to ask if that was solely your job or if you had other responsibilities along with that. So that makes sense. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
This is Christine. I do see a question from Jamie Gibson in the chat box. I could answer that. You said, do you see double up food trucks moving toward larger grocery chains that perhaps aren't as supportive of growers? What I can tell you about that is that, of course, Harps is local, and the Finney grant, the Double Up Food Book specifically requires that the produce has frontage.
Yeah, it's a 400-mile radius, and Double Up Food Books is a brand of the Fair Food Network, and one of the requirements of them is that the produce comes from within a 400-mile radius.
So, but, I definitely think that, and from what I am seeing, especially in Arkansas, as rural as we are, we have vast areas with no grocery stores, and I would really like to see this eventually expanded more into your corner stores. We have Dollar Generals popping up on every corner, and that's what would be my dream future, is to be more there, but it's a challenging process.
Can I ask you a question from Las Vegas as well? Okay. To make the process easier for farmers and farmers markets to set SNAP, I try to reach out to them through Facebook iMessage, because some of them really don't use their emails very much. But anyway, once you make that connection, I've been sending them the paper, SNS 252, I think is what it is, and offering my assistance in filling it out. I mean, if they have any questions, please call me, and I'll try to help answer them. And then telling them where to mail it, because even the mailing address isn't really on the application. But that has been successful, and we work very closely with the Arkansas Coalition for Obesity Prevention. That's where the Double Up Food Program Manager is located. And so Jeremy Adams and I, we communicate often and well. So I think that makes a difference.
Okay, we're going to have to stop for these questions and move on to our next presentation. Next up, we have Thea from Farm Fresh, Rhode Island. If you guys have more questions for Michelle and Christine, we can, if they're okay with it, share contact information, and you can reach out to them with questions or reach out to us, and we will follow up with them. So let's go ahead and just remember to mute your phones, and we'll hand this over to Thea.
Hi. Yeah, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you great.
Great. My name's Thea. I'm the Program Director for Community Access at Farm Fresh, Rhode Island. And so here, I'm going to go to the next slide. Just has a little bit of background of who we are. So we're a nonprofit founded in 2004. We actually started as a Brown University senior thesis project that developed into this monster of a nonprofit that we are today. So our mission is to grow a local food system that values the environment, health, and quality of life of all Rhode Island farmers and eaters. So we really are thinking about systems work that we can be doing where we're both valuing farmers and growers and all customers in Rhode Island, not just certain populations that can access farmers markets. Thinking about healthy neighborhoods and healthy communities. And there's our vision here: a New England abundant with diverse family farms and fertile soils, with locally and honestly produced foods and flavors at the heart of every dinner table. And I always think that's so nice. Going to the next slide. So like I said, Farm Fresh Rhode Island manages many programs. I'm going to talk about our nutrition incentive and farmers markets programs primarily. But some of the partnerships that we've been able to leverage are because we manage such a diverse variety of programs. So we manage farmers markets ourselves. We do marketing for statewide farmers markets, so we have other markets that we don't manage, but we help promote. We invested in an infrastructure that we call Fresh Bucks. They're a token system that are the way that we help facilitate SNAP at farmers markets in Rhode Island. And we do fundraising for the match that's similar to the Double Up Food Bucks that Christine and Nicole were talking about. We are funded through Wholesome Wave, so our nutrition incentive, the match on SNAP dollars, is for, it's called Bonus Bucks. I'll talk a little bit about that later. We do nutrition ed programs at farmers markets through a program called Healthy Foods, Healthy Families. And then we also manage Rhode Island Farm to School. We have a culinary job skills training program, and we actually have a food hub in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, where we do large-scale aggregation and distribution of local foods as well. So the next slide. So part of the farmers market work that we do is just basically helping to facilitate all these federal benefits that are food benefits that are available at farmers markets. So in Rhode Island, SNAP is facilitated through Department of Human Services, WIC is facilitated through Department of Health, and senior coupons are distributed through the Department of Environmental Management. I'm sure many other states and people on this call have, sometimes those agencies are housed, or those programs are housed under different agencies. Just a little background for Rhode Island. So yeah, we began managing farmers markets in 2005. We manage 9 of the 44 farmers markets in the state. And we manage markets ourselves, and then we also work with partner farmers markets on how to do that. So we to facilitate federal food assistance programs. So we don't quite have a formal collaborative or farmers market coalition for Rhode Island. Since Rhode Island is so small, we kind of serve as that inherently. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So yeah, here's a little map of Little Rhode Island on the next slide. So we have 37 summer farmers markets, 3 year-round farmers markets, 4 winter farmers markets, and 32 out of all of those facilitate SNAP benefits through Farm Fresh Rhode Island's Fresh Bucks token system. So markets that we don't manage are still using the same exact tokens, and it's really nice because then we can tell shoppers that they can swipe for tokens at one market and use them anywhere at any of the other farmers markets in the state, just about any, most of them. And also I know we just had a question, Rhode Island has only 5 counties, so we are very small. It's a much different program than Arkansas. Next slide. So here's a picture of some of our Fresh Bucks. The way it works for those who aren't familiar, customers come to the front, they swipe their EBT card for however much they would like to purchase at the market. We give them tokens. The tokens then can be used to purchase produce directly from the farmers. Next slide. So in addition to just facilitating SNAP, we do fundraising for nutrition incentives, and we call them Bonus Bucks. They're free $1 tokens given when SNAP shoppers come to the market and can only be used towards fresh fruits and vegetables. Some SNAP matches are for any produce at the farmer's market, and the way we've defined ours is as a nutrition incentive. We want to make sure that they're used for fresh produce to support farms and to support, to increase fruit and vegetable intake to hopefully promote better health outcomes. So bonus bucks in Rhode Island are offered and redeemable at 28 of the 44 farmers markets in Rhode Island. So we haven't quite gotten to every farmers market in Rhode Island who accepts SNAP also doing the bonus bucks, but we're slowly working our way up. And we've been been able to onboard new partner farmers markets. We've offered to do the fundraising for them as long as they put in the effort of being able to distribute the incentives. So this is just a little picture of the tokens. So we got the way we do is normally do a 40% bonus. So for every $5 you swipe your Snap card, you get $2 free in bonus bucks. So the bonus bucks are the silver tokens. They're just for fruits and vegetables, and we do trainings with the vendors to know which ones they can accept for what. And then the fresh bucks tokens are for any Snap eligible items. We also piloted a new bonus. This kind of relates to partnerships just from hearing feedback from community members. We started last summer, we tried a new way of distributing bonus bucks by doing a Bridge the Gap bonus. So this bonus is only we piloted it last year at just 10 of the farmers markets. Where basically if a shopper comes to the market earlier in the month, they automatically receive a voucher to turn in at the last market of the month and get $10 free for fresh fruits and vegetables. And that was after going to some partner meetings and people saying, we really like your program, we really love the bonus bucks, and we want to make sure that everyone can access them. But since it's distributed as a match, if you run out of benefits at the end of the month, then a match on 0 is still 0. So we aren't able to really reach the population that we're trying to reach as effectively as we can. So this bonus type was in part created because we heard community feedback about the need to try to distribute matching funds more evenly throughout the entire month. And it's been really successful. So next slide. So this is a complicated kind of looking graph. Basically, in the light green color is the amount of SNAP redeemed through Farm Fresh Rhode Island farmers markets. The gray color is the amount distributed in bonus bucks, the extra match. The black color, which comes up in 2015, are when we started helping other farmers markets in Rhode Island accept SNAP. And then, so you can, telling a little bit about this, hearing what Christine and Nicole were saying about a huge increase. We started accepting SNAP at farmers markets in Rhode Island in 2007, and when we started the nutrition incentives, the bonus bucks program in 2009, we saw a 700% increase. So definitely having the nutrition incentive program is huge in bringing more SNAP shoppers to farmers markets. Then the program kept growing, and then in 2015 is when we received a FINI grant we're a sub-awardee of Wholesome Waves large-scale grant, and we're able to assist more partner farmers markets in the state to accept SNAP. So once we kind of got them on board, you can see another big jump from 2015 to 2016, where you can kind of see the black color at least double. We had a huge increase in the amount of SNAP redeemed this past summer compared to the summer before, and we heard a lot of it was because of a mailing that we were able to do with DHS. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. The line at the top is just a trend line. So it's not that we're reaching 100% SNAP spent at farmers markets in the state of Rhode Island. It's more just SNAP participation. You can kind of see that as SNAP participation in Rhode Island grew after 2008, so did the increase in the utilization of fresh bucks and SNAP facilitated at farmers markets in Rhode Island. I'll go to the next slide. So yeah, so this is just a little bit about where we are today. Again, we're small, so we from January to October 2016, over 12,000 in SNAP sales statewide were facilitated through our token system. We started data tracking slightly differently this past year, so it was really nice to have statewide. That's why I'll give an updated number to everyone for the January through December, because now we have a full year. All those sales were matched. So we have another $52,000 were distributed, and since we've been doing this in 2007, we have had a great impact in Rhode Island. That's just a slide talking about how much, how well it's been going. So next slide. Getting down to outreach efforts. We did get an FMSSG award, and we think that it's been helping tremendously. One of the things that we've done for farmers market promotion in the state are printing statewide bookmarks. So we do a bookmark for 5 different regions. We do Providence, Pawtucket, Northern Rhode Island, Southern Rhode Island, East Bay, and Aquidneck Island. And we do a Spanish version of this bookmark too. On the bookmark, we have little icons for whether or not each market accepts SNAP, WIC, or and distribute bonus bucks. Try to help make it easy for people to know where they can go to spend which federal benefit. I was trying to find a picture. We also worked with our SNAP Outreach program in Rhode Island. SNAP Outreach is facilitated through the University of Rhode Island Extension. They have a Center for Hunger-Free America, and they manage SNAP Outreach and SNAP Nutrition Education programs. So we've definitely worked very closely with them. So they come and table at some of our farmers markets and help them create promotional materials and give them updated information about when the farmers markets are and who accepts what benefit. It's been really huge. So these bookmarks also we were able to distribute to partner markets, and they're kind of nice looking. I think they're kind of nice looking. But we passed them out to Tourism Council, to different tourism boards, so we can fit them in with all of the brochures for each region for what you could be doing in different parts of the state. And then we distributed them to restaurants. They're an easy outreach items, these little bookmarks that list when the farmers markets are. We printed market posters, we got a bunch of banners and feather flags, and we did a postcard mailing, which we're still trying to figure out if it was the most effective. If you go to the next slide, there's a picture of the postcard that we printed and mailed. We ended up only mailing about 5,000 of them in downtown Providence. We're trying to target neighborhoods that were near multiple farmers markets, since most of the farmers markets in Rhode Island are in the Providence area. And we put prints on the back side, something about bringing it back and getting an additional bonus. What we found was, and the ones that we mailed, we found less coming back in than the ones that we actually distributed to schools. So we printed, I think, about 30,000 of these. 5,000 we ended up mailing, but the other ones we were able to give to different schools so that they would be passed out with paperwork for parents, both in June and in September. So that way in June they could get information about when farmers markets are, and then in September, because the farmers market season doesn't end until the end of October, and actually in September there's some of the best produce. So what we did is that we went to the school superintendent office, because you need to get any materials distributed at schools approved. So you get in Rhode Island you get a little stamp of approval that this is the material that you're giving to the office is approved, so that the teachers can pass them out with paperwork for the kids. So that was really big, and we saw some parents coming back to the farmers market saying, oh, I found this was in my school kid's backpack. The way our flyer, we designed it so it looks like a coupon, but it just gives information about the program. So people will often come to the market manager table saying like, oh, I got this voucher, and you're like, great, did you know that you can do this anytime? You don't even need this voucher, that the match is available to you, and this market is here every week. And then they're usually like, no, oh, that's so great. And then they come back and shop all the time. It's wonderful. So yeah, distributing these postcards in schools was really effective, and that's how we were able to connect into those schools. The first year we had tried that, we actually only targeted to be distributing these postcards in grades K through 3, because we had a local mother on staff who said that she definitely had talked with other parents about how after 3rd grade she pays a little less attention to all of the things, or sometimes the things that come in the backpacks or with school paperwork don't always make it to the parents. So that was just sort of an interesting fun fact that, but we still thought it was worth expanding this program this past fall. So, so that was our postcard. And then we also did a few extra outreach efforts. We worked with another nonprofit in designing bus shelter ads. We just tried to get as much community feedback as we can to make sure that what we were promoting would be well received, and whether or not it would be heard by the population we're trying to reach, that we're using the right marketing. So talking about all the outreach that you want to be doing with people who are participating in SNAP programs, to talk to them more about what's impactful about using SNAP at the farmer's market for you. Is it because it's fresher? Is it because it's cheaper because of the bonus bucks? Or is it because it feels good seeing your community members? So we did a little bit of vetting on this ad, and landed up with the slogan, fresh, tasty, close to home. And I think it's hard to measure how well a bus shelter ad does, but we got some feedback that they saw the bus shelter ad, so that's nice. We also got 2 AmeriCorps Vista, which was huge in building capacity around being able to do farmers market outreach and promotion. Especially around reaching out to other agencies and just being extra boots on the ground, helping to recruit volunteers to do outreach. So having Vistas help with us was really wonderful. And we also had a special instance come up where we had a master's of social work intern who was focusing on macro issues surrounding food insecurity. And her field coordinator wasn't sure where to place her and ended up emailing us on a whim. And we've been having her help create outreach materials and a presentation so that we can do more outreach directly to social service agencies to help explain the bonuses and what's available and the benefit to telling any of their constituents to shop at farmers markets is of value. So Megan has been really helpful, especially around trying to create community partnerships and making sure that you're sharing a message in a way that's going to be received. So yeah, so the agency job connections that we've, we have been working with a lot of state agencies. So we work with the Department of Health, helping them to, we give them the information of where all the farmers markets are in the state, and then they are able to help reach out to make sure that all of the markets are approved. We also do training. We go to some of the training that are held for WIC staff. In Rhode Island, they have trainings for the field site coordinators, for the nutrition educators, and for the support staff. I think that they happen quarterly in Rhode Island. So we're able to email Denise over at WIC and say, hey, would you mind if we come in and do a 10-minute presentation on healthy foods, healthy families, and trying to drive redemption of WIC at farmers market. And so that is for WIC, but since a lot of the shoppers, or since a lot of WIC participants can overlap to being SNAP participants, we feel like it's really important to be aware of all of the benefits that could be available to everyone. We also have in Rhode Island, the Department of Health is working with a Health Equity Zone grant. I think that this is funding down through the CDC, and so in Rhode Island there are currently 13 Department of Health identified health equity zones. And the Department of Health is allowing each of those zones to identify social determinants of health that they would like to be working on in those zones. So most of the health equity zone managers have their workers have identified food access as a huge issue that they would like to be working on. So we have been invited to many community meetings working around healthy food access to promote to other people who also want to be working on social determinants of health. And we just go in and say what's available, and oh, did you know you can use your SNAP at farmers markets? And many times they didn't know, and it's really cool to be sitting in a room. Sometimes there will be somebody from the police department and the fire department and the school department, and it's all of these different community stakeholders who want to be working on all of these separate issues and trying to all come into one room and say what's needed in this community and how can we all be doing a better job of referring one another to all the different services that are available. And perhaps the biggest thing that we did last year that really drove redemption is that our Department of Human Services, we haven't quite been able to connect with them directly, as it sounds like Nicole and Christine have been able to work together in Arkansas. But we went, the SNAP outreach coordinator for the state of Rhode Island helped facilitate monthly SNAP advisory committee meetings. And by attending one of those meetings, I was able to connect with DHS about putting a one-page flyer about bonus and farmers market redemption. And that was sent out in their quarterly mailing. And we heard across the state that was had huge impacts on redemption. So that was a really small thing that had a really big impact. I definitely try to recommend for people to connect directly to DHS and see if they could put something in the quarterly mailing for their shoppers. So that's basically, I could talk a lot about other types of partnerships. I know we're running out of time.
And we really won't have much time for questions. Maybe we'll probably stay on for like the next 5 minutes. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat box. I am putting up the contact information for the FNS Farmers Market team as well as our guest presenters. And before you leave, if you have time, we would really appreciate it if you would fill out this very quick poll on whether or not you thought the webinar was helpful, as well as if there are any specific subjects that you think you would be interested in hearing more about SNAP and farmers markets for future webinars. So if you have any questions, please let us know. If there aren't any questions, I will leave everything open for about the next few minutes. And thank everyone so much for joining us today.
Hi, I had a question. There was the earlier speaker talked about their script or their tokens being able to be used at different markets in the same area, and I just wanted to know if that causes any problems in terms of what I understood to be requirements that you have to use your SNAP money, get the benefits when you're swiping the card.
I think, yeah, go ahead.
I think that's been an issue, but like in Northwest Arkansas, they have a different doubling program up there, and it's funded by Walmart, and it's called Double Dollars, and they allow people to use their tokens even the following season. But they
I don't know if there's... For federal reps on the phone, is that legit?
Yeah, it is. So basically how it works for a script program, this is Patrick, by the way, for a script token process at a farmer's market. So what will happen is they'll come in, the customer will come to the market, they'll swipe their card on a point of sale device and then receive tokens for the amount that they indicate they want to have debited from their SNAP balance on the device. And then they'll use those tokens to purchase the items at the different vendors at the market. And then at the end of the day, the farmers will turn those tokens into the central payment area, whatever they call it at each market. And then it's the market's responsibility to make sure that the farmers get the money that is conducted for that transaction. Now what happens is customers sometimes don't spend all their tokens on that day, and they don't always spend their tokens at that market. So as long as the market that they go to next to purchase fruits and vegetables understands what that is and what that token means, it's still the market's responsibility to make sure that that farmer gets paid for that amount of money that's being used with that token. Does that make sense?
Sure. And you're saying it's fine for the next season too, right?
Yeah, typically, yes. I know a lot of markets, it's my understanding from the team that turned over this program to us that a lot of markets accept those tokens throughout like the future of or for the duration of the market. So even if it's the following year or sometimes 2 years later, if somebody comes back with a token that they purchased on their SNAP account 2 years ago, then that money is still technically supposed to be in that POS device's system, and then when that customer spends that token that particular day, it'll still get debited from their account and then paid out to the farmer that the customer makes their purchase from, is how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, that's how it works in Arkansas, too. And it's really not an issue. Like, usually we just have one farmer's market in each county that takes SNAP, and not even in every county. But where that is an issue is in northwest Arkansas, where there's a lot of farmers markets and they have the same doubling program, and they all use the same token. I hope that makes sense.
In those instances, how does that reimbursement work if the SNAP funding is on the POS device of one market and then it's attempted to be redeemed at another market?
I mean, the market manager has to reimburse the vendor.
Mm-hmm. So do the
I
market
think that
have a
in Rhode
system?
Island, at least, since we have a huge system and we've kind of allowed we've onboarded everyone about using these same tokens. Since we are so small, we are in constant communication around whether or not there's a huge discrepancy in how much we're paying out because somebody is swiping off of at one market and then turning them in at another. So it definitely isn't clean accounting on a payout standpoint, but we've thought that the value to the customer in the connection and being able to use the tokens at all of the other farmers markets was bigger than the accounting headache afterwards.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to have to call time on questions. We're already 8 minutes over, and I don't want to take any more time from people. Thank you once again for everyone for joining this webinar. Please keep a lookout for the recording as well as any follow-up. If you have any questions, comments, please feel free to send them my way.